Hello everybody, we're going to start in the next minutes. I have shared the YouTube live stream link in the chat section for if you want to revise this lesson at a later stage. If you need anything, you can also go and watch the previous lessons on our YouTube channel for the person that sent me a message that this is their first time joining us. So I will also post links to our Facebook pages and our website. So if you have missed anything, you can go catch up. But for now, Mr. Voter is going to take over. And I hope you guys enjoy this lesson.
Right. Welcome everybody. Welcome back. I hope that today we're going to enjoy today. I thought about it this morning long and hard as to what we're going to do. And yesterday, for those of you that were here, we started with a night animation. So I think we're going to finish that. And I'm going to postpone maybe Goku until Monday. And for the simple reason is that I want us to maybe write a little game today, because then you can actually, because we haven't actually written any games yet. So I thought maybe we can do something like this, where it's a very simple game, but it will allow us to you can actually, code your own game, and we can put in some high scores and things in there as well. So before we look at that, I'm first going to go back to where we left off yesterday. I want to go back to our moving night problem. Okay, so yesterday I showed you how you can basically take a GIF image and you can clean it up. I'm just going to check and see whether this guy is still working the way it should work. So basically, sometimes it happens that in your costumes, one of your costumes isn't centered properly. If that is the case, then we need to fix that. So I'm going to just check and see whether this thing is actually working the way that it should be working. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this thing in place, and I'm going to say next costume. And I'm going to click this little flag and see if it's looking okay. Sometimes if it's not aligned properly, then it kind of glitches a little bit. So it seems like this guy's like jumping to the back or jumping behind him. If that is the case, then you need to realign your little character in order. And so to do that, I'm going to show you quickly how you would do that if that was actually a problem. And this is a very time-consuming exercise. What you would need to do is you would some space on this little character over here. Hopefully, if you're lucky, there's nothing that changes. In this case, I think the one that I chose, we can see here clearly that at the moment, the center of this character is slightly in front of the character. And I think yesterday I fixed this as well. But if you have to realign, you need to choose some spot on your character that for the most part stays more or less the same. So I'm going to choose maybe his sword over here. So I think this base of his sword over here doesn't really seem to change much. I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to do that for each picture that I've got. So I'm just line it up and click, line it up and click, line it up and click. So we did this yesterday. I think maybe I forgot to save it. But we're almost finished. And even if you don't get it perfect, that's fine, because the only thing that will happen is your character, once it moves, it will maybe go up a little bit, or maybe go down a little bit, or to the front a little bit, or to the back. But that doesn't matter, because it's just going to make your character a little bit more lively in any case. So I'm just going to click all of these ones here, just to make sure that the center of my sprite is the same. So if I click on this little flag, we can see nothing has changed much, but now the center of my sprite here is where his sword is at. Okay, so yesterday we said we're going to make this guy walk around and we're going to make him jump. So let's do that. So first things first, maybe let's see if we can get him to walk. Okay, so we started doing that yesterday, and I'm going to basically put this in here now. So let's do that quickly. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. I'm going to start event, and I'm going to say when we click the flag. Okay, so the question is, how do you download a GIF? Because I tried downloading Goku yesterday, but it did not work. where can you find a GIF? Okay, so before I continue, let me just quickly show you that, because I think that's going to be annoying for you if you can't get your GIF images. And I think that's pretty integral to what we're trying to do at the moment. So let me just quickly open up a browser here, and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so essentially all I do is I go to your favorite browser like Google, and I'm going to say something like, and this is what's important, you need to make sure that you actually type in the right keywords, otherwise you're going to end up getting all the wrong things. So I'm going to say night, or maybe the one that you were looking for is Goku. So Goku GIF, and click on images. And the one that I want basically is a character. So I'm going to say, I'm going to add here, you can either do transparent. So transparent just means there's no background. Right, so I'm going to choose that one. And then this kind of narrows the searches down for me. So all you do is now you click on something, and then you just need to make sure that whatever it is that you're looking at, it is actually being animated, because some of them, they say it's a GIF image, but actually nothing happens. So this one, we just have some things moving up. And the one that I was looking at yesterday, I think this is the one that I was looking at. So I use this one. So if you want to use this, you literally just right click on it, and you would say save image as, and you need to make sure that you see this little GIF extension here at the end. If you don't see that GIF, then it means it's not a GIF. But I'm going to go into more depth about this probably on Monday. We're not going to restrict ourselves to GIF images only. We're also going to look at character sheets as well. So character sheets, basically, then you've got like a whole sequence of things that you can choose from, even costumes and all kinds of weird stuff. So, so just to show you this again, Goku, GIF, transparent. You can also do just a normal GIF, but hopefully you would want the one that is transparent, because you don't want to delete the background in every single image, as I've done with the night, which is a little bit time consuming. So this guy here, you will download it, and then once you have that, you just go back so we can see how you would import that. So then once you've got that image, you will go to your Scratch interface again, and then where you have sprites, you say upload, and then from your images, you'll choose, for example, in this case, I've got the Goku GIF file here already. I click open. It's going to take a while because it's quite a big file, and then click on costumes, and then you'll see that I've got all these animations here for Goku. Okay, but I'm going to go, don't worry about it too much. I'm going to go into this more on Monday. I'm just going to show, this basically just shows you how you would be able to do that. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. Right, so we're going to make this guy move. So I want to basically say, if, and this is always going to be the case, I'm always going to wrap everything inside a forever loop. So this means that while this program is running, everything I press or do will be relevant forever. Okay, so let's say we want to do something like, we're going to say costumes, we're going to say on sensing, and we're going to choose this one here, key space is pressed, and we're going to choose control, and we're going to choose an if statement, and we're going to choose a repeat. Okay, so let me show you how this works. So we can repeat, we can say something like, if someone presses the right key, so let's say we go to the right, if someone presses the right arrow, all right, I'm going to go in here, then I want him to, first thing is you need to make sure that this guy is pointing in the right direction, right? So we first need to make sure that he's pointing in the 90 degrees direction, which is to the right. And then once that's done, we need to make him move by 10 steps. Okay, so I'm just going to run this now, and you see that it's moving to the right. But there's a problem here because we don't see any animation taking place, but we're going to fix that in a second. And then rather than me having to do a whole new thing on if, you can just right click on it, and you can just duplicate that particular code. So I'm just going to go down here. I'm going to slot that in there as well. I'm going to need this in a second. And we're going to change this. So if the left arrow key is pressed, We're going to point in the opposite direction, which is 270, which is to the left, or we can say minus 90. So let's see, if I press this button, we have this little rotation issue again because it's rotating upside down. And I showed you how we can fix that. We click on this little sprite here, and we just change the rotation style. Rather than moving around in a circle, we just change it from left and right. So whenever it's rotating, it's going to face left or it's going to face right. It's not going to physically turn in a circle. So when I press this again, let's see. Now this looks a lot better. Okay. Right. So now we need to make sure that this gets us some kind of movement thing going here. So if you remember, the way that we did it before is we took a control and we said forever, and we say something like looks, and we say next costume. So when I click on this one, you see that we get this little animation where it's walking, right? But the problem is I only wanted to do it once I press the right arrow key, and I don't want it to keep on moving forever. So how I'm going to fix that? So I'm going to say repeat. I'm going to put a repeat in here. So I'm going to take this move 10 steps out, and I'm going to say move one step, but I'm going to do that 10 times, right? So I'm going to move 10 times. It's the same as moving 10 steps. Move 10 steps or just move 10 times, okay? And then I'm going to say every time that I move, I'm going to switch a costume like that. Okay, let's see what this looks like. If I put this in here, so now if I press the right arrow key, it's going to point in the 90 degrees direction. We're going to do this little block here. We're going to do this 10 times. We're going to move, change costume, move, change costume. Okay, let's see how this works. So I'm going to press the little flag, and we see that we are moving, but actually really, really slow. So maybe we can speed this up a little bit. So rather than moving one step, we can say move 2 steps. Press the flag. Now it's moving a little bit faster. Okay, so you can play around with that. You can change the amount of steps that it takes to speed up your character a little bit. See, that looks a little bit better now. Yes, you can put in more than one character, and we're going to do that soon, I promise you. Okay, so in fact, the next part that we're going to do, we're going to use 2 characters. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take this one out here at the bottom. I'm going to copy this because I don't have to do it all again. And after I point to the left, I'm also going to repeat this 10 times, move 3 steps, and I'm going to change costume. So now if I press the play button, you see that we turn around, and I can actually move this way by holding down the arrow key, and I can move this way by holding down the arrow key. Okay, so that's how you move. Right, so now we still need to figure out how we're going to jump. Okay, so jumping is a little bit different. Let me show you the normal way of doing jumping. So maybe we can do something like when we press up, I want the character to move in the upwards direction, right? So remember, if we talk about the position of this little character here, let me just show this to you quickly to remind you. So click on other, I'm going to choose the XY grid, click OK. So basically, if we look at the background, we see that if a character is standing somewhere, if we want to move in the upwards direction, the X value doesn't change. So notice here that if I just go straight up, the X stays 0, but the Y value increases from 0 all the way to 180, right? So that means if I want to jump, I want the Y value to go up. And then once it goes up, then obviously we want them to come down again, right? So then we need to change the Y value to come back down again. So that will kind of give us an idea of the feeling that we are jumping. So we're actually going to move up, and then we're going to come down. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. So I'm going to say, click back on my character. I'm going to say motion, and we're going to say also, I'm going to say if, let's make it even better than this. I'm going to take this up arrow thing here. I'm going to take it out, and we'll also put a flag here. So when we press the flag, both of these things will be activated, right? And I'm also going to wrap it around a forever loop. Okay, and in here I'm going to say if If the up arrow key is pressed, I'm going to look for that key pressed one over here. Put this in here. So if I press, or you can leave it as space, it's up to you, your preference. If the up arrow key is pressed, I'm going to move up. So we go to motion, and you see here that we've got change X, but we want to change Y, remember? We want to go up. So that means that we need to change Y by 10, for example. That's not going to jump really high, but we can change that. And then after that has happened, I want to go back down again. So we want to maybe change this to -10. But the problem with this is if we jump, it's literally going to go up 10, down 10. So it's going to be so fast. Let me show you what this actually would look like. So I'm pressing jump now. So it's so fast I can't actually even see it. I'm jumping and nothing is actually happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this by saying events, control, and I'm just going to put a little bit of a bit of delay in between. So just wait. So it's going to go up, wait a little bit, and then it's going to come down. I don't want him to hang in the air for a whole second, so maybe we can do it by a fraction of a second. Okay, let's see if this is actually going to work now. So press the R with the green flag. You see that it's jumping, but not very high, right? So let's maybe change it to, so that rather than going up by 10, let's try 50. And it's going to go down by 50. Okay. Press the flag. Now we can see that it's jumping. But it doesn't look natural, right? You see it's like super fast, and then it comes down super fast again as well, which is not what we want. And this is where coding is really cool, because I mean, this part here where it jumps is pretty obvious, right? Because we know that if we press the up arrow, we need to move up, and then we wait a little bit, and then we need to come down again. But you can see clearly that it doesn't look like it, right? So this is the thing that's cool about coding, is that you can actually go online and you can talk to other people, or you can look at videos and things, and you can figure out ways to make it look better. So that's exactly what I've done. Can we make them jump forward instead of up only? Yes, we're going to do that now. Okay, so, well, technically we can do this already. I'm just going to change the background because it's annoying me a little bit now. I'm not particularly fond of this XY plane. Let's just choose something a little bit more natural, I suppose. Let's do castles. It's only fitting that we have a knight in a castle, right? Okay, so let's choose that one. And over here. And we're going to change scripts, and we're going to say press a little flag. And I can move. And I can also jump. But notice, like I said, the jump is weird, right? It doesn't look like it. So I'm gonna see if I can change that. And I found the following code online. So I'm going to make a slight modification to the way that we jump. So I'm just going to move this left-right thing out of the way, and we're going to focus our attention on how to jump properly. So this is the code that I found. So this all stays the same. We're going to click, and if we press the up key, we want to, rather than saying change Y by 50 and then waiting and then changing Y, we're going to put in a repeat loop. I'm going to repeat, and I'm then going to change Y, rather than change Y by 50, I'm going to change Y by 5, like this. So this is kind of the same thing, but rather than changing Y by 50 in one go, I change it by 5, then I change it by 5, I change it by 5, I change it by 5. So basically this little loop basically will change it by 5 at a time, rather than changing it by 50 in one go. Okay, so this gives a little bit more of a natural jump. So if I click on this, you can see here that looks a little bit more natural, right? It just goes up a little bit slower. I click on it again, we can see that that looks a lot better. Okay, so after I've gone up, nothing else changes. We're going to go down again. We're going to wait in the air for like a split second, and then we are going to go back down again. So we're going to repeat again, and now rather than say changing Y by -50, we're going to say change Y by -5, like that. So we go up 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and then we wait a split second, and then we go down 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So if I click on this, we can see that that, for me, looks a lot better than the one that we had just now. It just goes jump up, down, right? So I can just move this in here. Okay, so you guys saying that you can't hear me properly? Let's see if I can adjust my microphone. Is that better? Next time I'll see if I can change the settings on my mic to make it a little bit louder, but hopefully this should be okay now. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to press here, record, and I'm going to press play, and now I can move, right? And I can also jump. And notice that there's a slight problem in here because I don't really want his legs to be moving while I'm jumping. But to fix that is a lot more difficult than you would believe. So I'm going to leave that for now. Essentially what we're going to do is like, you're going to say, when you press the up key, then essentially it needs to stop changing its costume. But that in itself is going to take a while. But we're going to get back to this. I implore you to, over the weekend, if you have time, and see if you can maybe create your own character and get it to the point where you can actually walk and you can jump. And then as we go along next week, we're going to make this a lot better. So we're going to change it so that maybe this character, if it's moving towards the right of the screen, it's going to go into a new screen, right? And with new things that we can look at. And maybe we can jump up things. And if you really want to, and if you have a lot of time, then you can actually make him swing his sword and things like that. Okay, so basically, so that's how you jump. So just to reiterate here, that jumping is not difficult, but to make it look good, sometimes you have to go onto the internet and look at what other people have done and to find some little bit tricks of the trade in order to make your things a little bit better. Okay. Are there any other questions about this before I go on to writing a game? No? Okay. Yes, let's continue. So I'm going to save this quickly. Let's just save this. And I'm going to say file new. And we are going to write our very first functional game. I'm going to delete this. So what I want to do is I want to create a paddle ball game, right? So essentially we have a little paddle that we can move left and right. And we have a ball that appears at the top and we can move around the paddle and the ball will basically bounce around on the paddle. Okay, so first things first, we need to create two sprites. So I'm going to first create a new one. I'm going to click on new sprite. I'm going to choose the ball. I'm going to click OK. So there's my ball. I'm going to click on costumes and you can actually choose your own color if you want. You can choose blue, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm going to go back here. So this now is blue. That's my first sprite. And I'm going to add a new one. And this one we actually have to draw. So I'm going to click on paint. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to choose, let's make it a purple rectangle. Something like this. And just click out of it. And you see that this paddle will appear. So now we can move this thing around and we can move the ball around. So I've got two sprites now, right? I've got the ball and I've got the paddle. But at the moment, the sprite is called sprite 1. So we need to change the name of this thing. So maybe we can right click on it. We can click on info. And I'm going to change this to paddle and click enter. Okay, so I just click on info and I'll change the name to paddle. So this is now called paddle and I've got my ball. Here we go. Okay, so how does this work? So the ball basically will come down and then if it hits the paddle, then it will basically go back up again and we can move the paddle left and right. We want the game to end when the ball touches the ground, right? So for me to do that, I'm going to have to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go onto stage and I'm going to choose the backdrops. And we can see here that now I'm looking at my stage. And I'm going to draw another rectangle here, but I'm going to make it a different color. So let's choose maybe something like blue for maybe red. Let's choose red. And right at the bottom of the screen, I'm going to draw a red rectangle that goes all the way at the bottom. Okay, so you can maybe make it a bit smaller or bigger if you want, and you click out of it, and you can see now that on my background I've got this big red rectangle that's sitting there. So what I want to happen is that if I miss the ball, if it touches the red, I want the game to stop. Okay, so whenever the ball touches the red, the game should stop. Okay, so how are we going to code this? So let's maybe look at the first thing. Okay, so in order to do this, we're going to need to look at a little bit of basic math. So I'm going to need your help with this. So we're going to go to operators, and let me explain to you why I'm going to do this. Because when the ball basically, when the game starts, I want the ball to start moving down, but I don't want it to always just go down in a straight line like this, because that would be boring, because then we just hold this thing here, and then forever the ball will just bounce basically onto this paddle. So what I want to happen is that I want the ball to go this way, or maybe this way, something like that. So if I can show you on the circle that I showed you last time, and if we go back to the circle, so when the ball starts, basically, I want the ball to essentially either be pointing in that direction or that direction. So anywhere in between these two over here, it seems like a good place for the ball basically to point. So it's going to be kind of like a random thing. So it's somewhere between here and here is where I want the ball to go. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go, basically I want the ball to go like this or like this. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we go along. Right, okay, so in order to do that, we're going to use this block here under operators, and we have to use something called pick random. Okay, so I want it to be random in terms of the direction that it's going to go. Obviously, I don't want to know exactly which way it's going to go, because then I'm just going to hold this paddle here and the game is not going to be very interesting. So this basically needs to be kind of random. So on the board, I'm going to say pick random 1 and 10. Now we need to understand first, how does random work? Right, so let me show you. So random 1 to 3, and I'm going to say right click, add comment, and random 1 to 3 is going to give me the numbers 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. So it's going to choose a random number, 0, 1, 2, or 3, right? And I can do another one, pick random. You can do something like 0 and 1, right? And this is going to give me the numbers 0 and 1. Let's do another one. Let's choose something like random 3 and 5. And this is going to give me the random numbers 3 or 4 or 5. It's going to give me one of those three numbers, basically 3, 4, or 5. And the question for you is, can you guess what numbers I'm going to get if I put in something like -2 and 2? Can you figure out what numbers I'm going to get if I use those numbers? Let's see if you can get it on the chat. Which numbers will come out? Is nobody going to try? Oh, beautiful, Ashton. Okay, so Ashton is correct. So we start at -2, then -1. So we just keep adding 1, right? We get 0, we get 1, and then we get 2. Okay, so we start with this number, and then we just keep adding 1, adding 1, adding 1 until we reach this last number over here. Okay, so that is how random is going to work for us. So I'm going to move it along to the side just to remind ourselves, if you want to have a bit of a refresher as to how random actually works, because we're going to need that now when we program this little this ball. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to say when this thing starts, right? So I'm going to go to events. When it starts, first thing is I'm going to move the ball to the top. Okay, so I'm going to use motion and I'm going to say go to position. We're going to put it in the middle of the screen. So remember the middle is essentially x0, y0, but if we go to the top and we're still in the middle of the screen, then x is still equal to 0, right? So make that x0 and let's maybe put y to 160. So I'm just going to click on it and you can see that is basically where the ball is going to start. So if I go down here, I click on it, that is where the ball is going to start. Okay, so that is, you can make it start somewhere else if you want by changing the x value to say something like, I don't know, 100. Click on that and it's going to start a little bit off center. I'm going to keep it right in the middle at the top like that. Okay, then this thing currently we need to make sure that it's going to point. Remember I said that we wanted to point down either in this direction or in this direction. Okay, so I'm going to first do that and I'm going to show you how this is going to work. I'm going to say point in direction and we're going to say we want a number between, if we're going to go down, so let me show this to you quickly just to make sure that you guys get it. Okay, so the ball is going to, at the moment the ball is going to, if the ball's pointing down, it's going to go straight down. But maybe I want it to go from here. So let's say 135 degrees, more or less, which is over here. I want it to go from here or here. So I'm going to put in some things in here so that you can see. So maybe from here to here. So let me just draw that for you quickly. So let's suppose that I want the ball basically to start. So it's going to go in this, anywhere in the direction within this little triangle. That's where the ball is going to go. So this is more or less equal to about 135. And this one over here is equal to about 225. Okay, so you can change that. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. But if I choose between 135 and 225, I'm essentially going to get any one of these directions at random. Have you got it? So if you don't know maths and you want to do a game, can you never do a game? The harsh reality here is that games and mathematics, it's the same thing. If you think about, especially 3D games, there's a lot of math behind that because everything needs to be converted into 2 dimensions to give you the illusion that you're working in a 3-dimensional space. So unfortunately, math is going to be very important for you, and especially things that I'm showing you now, like angles and things like that. But maybe that's your motivation to become really good at math, because you can write awesome games if you're really good at math. But it doesn't mean that you have to be good at math to write games. I'm just saying you can write some really cool games if you're good at math. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to share this back. Okay, so we need to basically move anywhere between 135 and 225. So I'm going to click on operators, pick random, and I'm going to choose a number between, remember we said 135, and we're going to go all the way to 225. Okay, so just to give you an idea here, let's say move 100 steps like this. So if I click on this, you see that it goes like that, or I can go so fast actually. Let's maybe make it go a little bit slower. Let's do pen down and let's make it move, and you can see how exactly it's going to look. So you see it goes like that, and if I clear it and I do it again, we can see now it's going in that direction, or it's going in that direction, and we can see all these random directions that the ball is basically going to be moving in once I press this button. You can't see what I'm doing. Can you see now? Should be able to see. Can you see the ball? Can you see the ball basically moving around?
We can only see the Word document.
That's really bizarre. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, let me show you again. Okay, so what I've done is the following. I'm just going to go back here. So I'm going to say point in direction. This is the one that we all know. And I'm going to point in the direction that's random between 135 and 225, because we said if we go in this direction, it's 135. And if we go in that direction, it's going to be 225, right? So when I click on it, I can't really see much. So that's why I'm putting in a pin and adding some movement to it. So every time that I point, pin down, I'm going to move. So we can actually trace and see how the ball is going to move. So I'm just keep clicking it, and we can see that we are getting some random directions between 135 and 225. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Do you guys all understand this random number business here? So the random number, it chooses an angle between 135 degrees, which is like kind of like a southeasterly direction, or we can go in a southwest direction, which is 225 degrees. Okay, cool. So that makes sense. All right, so let's take this away. I'm going to clear it, and we're going to say the following. We're going to say, once that's done, we're going to say control forever. I always want this to happen. We're going to move 10 steps. So it's going to move 10 steps. And we're going to say, if it touches the edge of the screen, it's going to bounce. So it's just going to rotate and jump in another direction. But if, right, if it touches the paddle, so I'm going to go here, if we're looking at, if it's touching, not the mouse pointer, the paddle. And see, that's why it's important that you give your things proper names, because I renamed it here to paddle. And if I just left it, it would have just been called sprite 1. So you can imagine if you have 50 things on here, then you'll have sprite 1, sprite 2, sprite 3. So it's important that you name your things properly. So I'm going to say, if it's touching the paddle, then I want it to now face in the opposite direction, right? I want it to now not go down anymore. I want it to face up like this. So I want it to go like that. So there's an easy way for me to do this. Let me show you quickly. I'm scared that we're going to run out of time. Okay, so basically, once it touches the paddle, I want it to go in that direction or in that direction. So anywhere between these two directions over here is where I want the ball to go. So this is about, we can say, let's make it 30 over here. And rather than saying 270, because if I say 270, it's going to basically give me all these options over here. So I'm going to say minus 30, which is over here. Remember, if we say minus, we're going this direction. So minus 30 all the way to 30. Okay, minus 30 and 30. So we're going to say point in direction, and I'm going to use this random thing again. I'm going to say point in direction, minus 30, and 30, and we can even put in a sound. Every time it touches that thing, it's going to make a sound, a pop sound. Okay, so let's see what happens if I press this button. So it's only bouncing off the screen at the moment, but if it's going to touch the paddle, see that we get that pop sound over there. Okay, so let's clear the pen and let's see if we can actually, I'm not sure why it's still drawing. That's very bizarre. We have to, oh yeah, pen down. We have to say clear and we have to go to pen, pen up. Okay, so now that part is done. So we're going to say, okay, if we touch the red, we want the whole game to stop. So we're going to say here at the bottom, we're going to add another condition here. We're going to say if the ball, and then you can say touching color. So I'm going to click on the green, and I'm now going to click on the red. So if it's touching the red, I want the whole thing to stop. We can click on control, and we just say stop all. Okay, so if I click on this, see, it touches the red and the whole game just stops. Okay, so I click on it again, the whole game is just comes to a stop. Okay, so we've done that part, the ball is finished. Now we still need to move the paddle, and this part is going to go quick. So we don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, so we're going to say here on the paddle, we need to add code for the paddle now. And this part is luckily quite easy. You can say, when we click the flag, but the popping sound is not that loud. You can make your own sound. You can record yourself and you can make the most, I don't know, weirdest sounds that you can think of, and you can put them into your code. It's your game. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to say, go to, let's maybe say when the game starts, we're going to start at position. Okay, now we need to make sure where we are. So I don't want it to be that high. So maybe I'm going to just move it down a bit. Delete maybe over here, seems like a good space. So first move your paddle the height that you want, right? Then I'm going to say go to position, and we can see that X is currently minus 59 and Y is equal to minus 20. That's the position of this little guy over here. I want to change this to go to X, we put it in the center of the screen, and we're going to leave it at 125 because that's the height that I would like. And then I'm going to say forever, right? I'm only going to change my X. Remember, I don't want to go up and down. I only want to go left and right. Okay. So I'm going to go to motion, and I'm going to say set X value equal to, my X value is always going to be equal where my mouse is. So see here where if I move my mouse across the screen, you can see how the X and the Y values changes, right? So my X value changes if I go to the left or if I go to the right. So let me show you that quickly. So I'm going to click on sensing, and I think the one that I'm actually looking for is called mouse X. I'm just going to look for something called mouse. Here we go. So on sensing, you'll find mouse X. This will always give me the position of the mouse. Obviously it's 240 now because I'm all the way to the right. Put this in here, click on that. So forever, it's always going to follow the X position of my mouse only. It's going to basically move left and right with my mouse. So let's see how this thing actually works out for us. You can see I can now move the mouse to the left and to the right, and we can make the ball bounce. You can even make it more challenging for yourself. You can go onto the ball here, and rather than moving 10 steps, you can make it faster. You can make it go 20 steps. Can there be more than one paddle? Yes, I was actually thinking about that. So what you can do is, but then you'll probably have to use a keyboard to do that. I'm thinking that you make a paddle that works on left and right key, and maybe you can make another paddle that works on the keys A and D or something like that. Then you can actually play against someone. You know, you can move it around. You can see maybe who can win. That's something that you can look into. If you want, I can show you next time, or maybe, do we have time? Do we have 3 minutes? Because it's a bit boring if you just bounce this thing around. It would be way better if we can actually get some kind of a score thing going on here. Maybe I'm going to leave that for you as homework, and you can kind of figure out how you would do it so that every time that it bounces, then you get 1 point and you get 2 points. And I'll give you a little bit of a clue. You can go to something called data, and you can create a variable. Let's just do it. Let's just call it score. I'm just going to do it. And when the game starts, so basically when we click the flag, I'm going to set the score equal to 0. You can see here at the top, the score basically is now showing. And remember that every time that we actually touch the paddle, it makes that little popping sound. We can now say change score by 1. In other words, change score by 1 means add 1. So if I make it -1, it will subtract 1. Right? So just every time we touch, it adds 1. So let's see how this works. So I click on the flag, and we can see now I've got a score basically going around here. Okay. It's a pretty simple game. I think that each and every one of you are able to do that. So I thought maybe rather show you this now today, so you can actually write your own game over the weekend, your very first game. And if you think about it, you might think, oh, this is not like Call of Duty or whatever. Just bear in mind that when computers first came out, these were the types of games that started. So it all starts here. So it's better to start with at the very beginning and then build your understanding properly as you go along, not go straight for 3D games and things like that. We need to start at the beginning somewhere. Okay, but how can you download the app? What do you mean download the app? Do you mean download the app for this specific one? Oh, you can go, you save it, and then you can share it to a website. So remember in the first video, go back to the first video. It will show you how you can actually share your work online. So you'll get a link, and you can share that link with someone that they can play your game. Okay, so that's it. That's probably going to be the easiest way to do it. Any other questions? Can you please release a game to those so it can trend? Do you want me to release this game for you? Okay, cool. I'll put up a link online for you, and I'll add it. I'll post a comment on the YouTube page where this video is basically streaming. Just give me a few minutes to do that, but I will definitely post a link for you there. Okay, cool. All right, thank you. Now I'm asking if I can release a game. Oh, yeah, you can. Of course you can. You can. Any game that you write is your game, so you can definitely release a game. I think for Scratch, maybe it's going to be a bit difficult. So it's basically just going to be web-based. But if you want to, you can, with some practice and things, you can actually generate your own things. Definitely. But anyway, thank you. You were awesome this week. I really enjoyed teaching you guys. And next week we're going to continue. I thought maybe you can look at some kind of a dungeon crawler at some point, or even a game where we have a fighter plane and we can shoot down some things if you want. All right, so I hope you have an awesome weekend. Thank you very much.